Pbr&B, also referred to as R-Neg-B, hipster R&B and alternative R&B, is a term used by music journalists to describe an emerging, stylistic alternative to contemporary R&B. Etymology: Pbr&B is a portmanteau of PBR and R&B. However, despite being the most widely used names for the genre, these terms are often criticized for pigeonholing artists into hipster subculture and are derisive. Slate suggests the name R-Neg-B. Others suggest that it falls into a broad category of alternative R&B, or indie R&B. The first use of the term Pbr&B was on Twitter by Sound of the City writer Eric Harvey in March 2011. 3 years later, amazed and distressed at how far the term, meant as a joke, had traveled, Harvey wrote an extensive essay about it for Pitchfork. Characteristics: recording artists associated with the term include the Weeknd, Theophilus London, How to Dress Well, Miguel, Gianna Copyright Iko, Janelle Monáe, Kelela and Frank Ocean. Barry Walters of Spin characterizes their unconventional style as an exchange between EDM, rock, hip-hop, and R&B's commercial avant-garde, and cites Ocean's Nostalgia, Ultra and Channel Orange, Miguel's Kaleidoscope Dream, How to Dress Well's Love Remains, Drake's Take Care, and Usher's Looking for Myself as works associated with Pbr&B. Brandon Niesman of The Griot observes a changing of the guard in R&B, from the smooth, cool heartthrobs to these vulnerable, off-kilter personalities amid the prevalence of social media in society. Niesman finds the subject matter of these new wave artists to be more relatable, and writes of its characteristics. A lot of the production is echo-laden and lofty, often using a lot of synthesizers and filtered drums sonically giving a nod to Prince's vintage 80s sound. Additionally, for the most part, it doesn't feel as if these artists are selling sex as their main intra-copyrightee. Granted, they still sing about the topic, and in explicit detail, but it's an equal proportion to drugs, spirituality and personal philosophies. Udonia unregistered trademark T get that same diversity in subject matter from the majority of modern R&B singers. Herman Hobie of The Guardian writes that the music is quietly radical, and observes an ongoing, mutually enriching dialogue between indie and electronic musicians and R&B artists. Jerick D. Kennedy of the Los Angeles Times feels that the new movement feels like the most significant stylistic change in R&B since neo-soul rolled around in the 1990s. Stereogum described the genre as a fad that reached its saturation point in early 2014. Response: Frank Ocean states that he does not like being called an R&B musician and he does not like being confined to one genre. How to Dress Well was not offended by the term Pbr&B, but found it tacky. By contrast, Miguel says that he is comfortable with the term indie R&B, because it insinuates a higher art, or a deeper or somehow more artistic delivery of rhythm and blues music. It suggests there's more artistry within a genre that has become more of a cliché of itself. Justin Cummings of the All notes a racialized aspect of the term, plainly stating that calling it hipster R&B is a nice way of saying it's R&B that white people like. Eric Harvey, the writer who coined the term, wrote a thorough response to its proliferation, at Pitchfork. See also, hipster hop, neo-soul, references. Further reading, Ebb, Nitze. Pbr&B. New Yorker, Cabral, Jeanette. Pbr&B a subgenre is born. CBC Musica, Fennessy, Sean. Love vs. Money, The Weeknd, Frank Ocean, and R&B's Future Shock. The Village Voice blogs. Village Voice Media A.